Other interesting culture news, you have Oliver Anthony turning out to having a fake accent and perhaps being a closet conservative. Now, he is one of the most viral sensations for music that we've seen perhaps in my lifetime. He's an independent music artist, and without even being signed to a record label or having a big shot executive or an agent represent him, he hit #1 on the billboards. And there's reports that he's making $40,000 per day in music downloads and streamings. He even turned down an $8 million record deal, and he appeared to be kind of a good old country boy or maybe the mountains. And the song that really propelled him to fame was the Richmond, North of Richmond, in which he talks about his disdain of, north of Richmond is actually Washington, D.C., saying how they really don't care about us. And a lot of people are saying he's conservative. He never said he's conservative or liberal, or he was he wasn't. So a lot of people are feeling betrayed, saying, "Oh, because of this video, he's not really conservative." I think like a lot of folks, he just kind of feels politically alienated. Although some of the things he says in this interview, this vlog, it does sound like he's conservative. Maybe he just doesn't know it yet. So here's his real voice, and he's talking in his truck. It's not too long, but it's pretty entertaining.
With you, it's that a different person. If there is anything for me to address at all with you, it's that.
And within one day, this got 863,000 views, and it is #8 trending with 100,000 likes.
It's the one thing that has bothered me is seeing people wrap politics up into this. I'm disappointed to see. Like, it's aggravating seeing people on conservative news try to identify with me like I'm one of them. It's aggravating seeing certain musicians and politicians act like we're buddies and act like we're fighting the same struggle here, like that we're trying to present the same message. I've had a lot of people reach out to me, and I've tried to be polite to everybody, and I've talked to hundreds of people the last 2 weeks. But it seems like certain people want to just ride the attention of this song to maybe make their own selves relevant, and that's aggravating as hell. The other thing that I find aggravating is
politicians are notorious for doing this, left and right, and I definitely see why you'd be annoyed with that.
Well, like, it was funny seeing my song in the. It was funny seeing it at the presidential debate. Because it's like, I wrote that song about those people, So for them to have to sit there and listen to that cracks me up.
Shows you how out of touch politicians are, where politicians are like, "Oh yeah, look at this song." It's like, yeah, the song's about you. The song's about how you've been in politics for 40, 50, 60 years, and yet you have done nothing for the middle class. Your list of accomplishments can be listed on a cocktail napkin, which is a small napkin, so mild burn.
But it was funny kind of seeing the response to it. Like, that song has nothing to do with Joe Biden, It's a lot bigger than Joe Biden. That song's written about the people on that stage, and a lot more too, not just them, but definitely them. It's cool seeing some of my other music come out, because people are, I guess, starting to appreciate and understand what it is I'm really trying to say. It's hard to get a message out about your political ideology or your belief about the world in 3 minutes and some change. But I do hate to see that song being weaponized. Like, I see the right trying to characterize me as one of their own, and I see the left trying to discredit me, I guess in retaliation. That shit's got to stop. If you watch the response videos on YouTube to this song, it's not conservative people responding to the song. It's not even necessarily Americans responding to the song. I don't know that I've seen anything get such positive response from such a diverse group of people. And I think that terrifies the people that I sing about in that song. And they've done everything they can the last 2 weeks to make me look like a fool, to spin my words. to try to stick me in a political bucket.
Overnight.
Good old YouTube. Gotta have the commercials. Although the rates are pretty down these days, so if they're not making too much on these, it'll be interesting to see how long until they just force us all to buy YouTube Premium. I was shocked. I actually met someone for the first time in my life who pays for YouTube Premium. I almost didn't believe him. I had to double check. I'd be like, "Whoa, you do? Like, you're like one of 15 who pay for it." I'm only moderately joking.
And they can keep trying, but I'm just going to keep on writing. And I've got a lot of words to put down on paper, and I've got a lot of songs to put to chords, and I don't know what my music career is going to look like. I don't know how many shows I'm going to do and how many tours I'm going to put on, but I am going to stay true to my word. I'm going to write. I'm going to write, produce, and distribute authentic music that represents people and not politics. I do feel compelled to address something. Since I have addressed the conservatives, I do need to address the left as well, because they're sending a message out that initial song that sort of shot me up the radar, Richmond, North of Richmond, is an attack against the poor. If you listen to my other music, it's obvious that all of my songs that reference class defend the poor. Doggone, it's a good example of that. Needles in the street, folks hardly surviving on sidewalks next to highways full of cars self-driving. The poor keep hurting and the rich keep thriving. It's like, that's what I like to sing about. And, you know, the English language is interpretive, and so I do understand, like, there may be some people who misunderstood my words in Richmond, North of Richmond. But I've got to be clear that my message, like with any of my songs, it references the inefficiencies of the government because of the politicians within it that are engulfed in bribes and extortion. And, you know, the words say that there's people on the street with nothing to eat and the obese milking welfare. That references a news article I read earlier this summer that adolescent kids in Richmond are missing meals over the summer because their parents can't afford to feed them and they're not in school to eat cafeteria lunch. And meanwhile, I think like 30 or 40% of the food bought with welfare or EBT money is in a classification of like snack food and soda. I think 10% spent on soda, and I want to say like 20 or 30% spent on junk food.
It's astonishing how many places accept the EBT where they're allowed to buy those things that are the worst things for them, like a can of high fructose corn syrup. If you're in economic need and you're like, there's no logical reason why you should be purchasing that product. It's certainly not making you healthy or smarter or stronger. It's the antithesis. It's quite the opposite. It's actually you're just making your life worse. And yet, there is not a significant percentage of people who are using those funds for those products, making the whole situation worse.
And that's not the fault of those people. Welfare only makes up a small percentage of our budget.
Well, I'm going to have to stop him right there. Welfare, and it depends on how you define welfare in the United States. Some people put Social Security in there. Technically, Social Security is where the government puts a gun to your head and said, hey, give me your paycheck. We're going to pretend to save for you because we think we do better. That's been debunked because clearly they can't or they don't. They've used that money for a myriad of different things that they shouldn't have. And that's one of the biggest costs when it comes to the U.S. budget. But an astonishing amount of people are on welfare and social services, depending on what studies you're looking at. I actually found one, and this is from HouseCommitteeBudget.gov, and that one noted that the federal government spent $1.19 trillion on 80 welfare programs, which also include direct to consumer, direct to the end user, in this case, citizen, and that they claim it's 19% of the federal budget breakdown, and they also claim that 59 million Americans receive some form of welfare. That equates to about 19% of the U.S. population. I didn't believe that when I first read it. I went to a couple of websites, and they all seem to be about that percentage. If you see different statistics, let me know in the comments. I always want to read more, get some more knowledge, and if appropriate, do redactions as I've done before with other topics. But it's astonishing how many people are on those programs. Even more concerning when they stay on the programs. Where I'm one of those folks where I want to say, I know people come on in hard times. I think the best policy if we had the community or religious organizations around them help them, and because that's where you foster community and you have an incentive to pay them back. When you get handouts from the government, there's not a personal connection. You just see a faceless government where they take individuals' money and they redistribute it. So in terms of successful people, situations in which you help people get on their own 2 feet, I think the more effective one is having community help, religious help, where people close to your proximity, they're helping you get back on your feet, helping you get a job. And I know that's not easy, but I think that formula is the best formula for success, because you do see with the government methodology, there's a high percentage of people who are staying on those programs for long term, when the intention is, in my opinion, for short term to help them get to a better place. Now, granted, the pessimist in me says it's almost intentional, because then you're dependent on the government, then they get more votes from you. So I think there's kind of a negative incentive there. But I digress. It's not an insignificant number of people. But I digress. We'll get back to what Mr. Anthony is saying.
You know, we can fuel a proxy war in a foreign land, but we can't take care of our own. That's all the song's trying to say.
And that's a good point. I think people on the left and the right, you're seeing more and more people come to this consensus where they're concerned, where we sent over $100 billion to Ukraine, both in cash as well as physical gear, in terms of military gear, humanitarian aid. But you still have crumbling roads in the United States. You have hundreds of millions of Americans who are struggling, and it looks like there's a lot of resources being sent to countries who would never help us. And I'm not saying we shouldn't help the other countries. There are certain instances that are national security, certain supply chain concerns when it comes to defense components. Taiwan would be a big one, since they're pretty much the headquarters for most of the semiconductor manufacturing on the planet. But I think a lot of people can relate to this issue or this message, and it's not a left or right thing. I think more people in the middle, and there's more overlap than we think, which again, politicians don't want us that. They want us fighting each other, so then they get their votes, and interestingly enough, barely anything gets done. But that's just my 3 cents.
It's just saying that the government takes people who are needy dependent and makes them needy independent. And at some point I will dissect all my lyrics of all my songs, if that's what I need to do. I mean, 30-some million people understood what I was saying.
I don't know. That's kind of I find that kind of annoying or boring when an author does that or a musician does it. Like, leave something to the imagination for the end user to interpret. It's one of the reasons on average, I really don't like movie adaptations of books. Well, most movies these days are crap anyway, but some of the things where it kind of takes away a little bit of your imagination and takes a little bit of your creativity, because in your mind, you put the whole world together from a book, and then you have someone in Hollywood put it on the screen, and inevitably it's never going to be as good as a book, and it takes away your imagination. So, I mean, that might help him clarify a few things, but I don't know. I feel like he's kind of acquiescing to the criticisms if you're to do that.
But it only takes a few to try to derail the train, to try to send out false narratives. And I'm sure there'll be more of that to come. It's like, it's driving people crazy to see the unity that's come from this, from all walks. This isn't a Republican and Democrat thing. This isn't even a United States thing. Like, this has been a global response. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Go on YouTube and watch all the response videos, And don't shoot the messenger. Like, I'm a nobody. It's my belief that divine intervention has put me in this position in this point in time to get a message across, and that's all there is to it. Like, I'm nobody special. I feel terrible almost that I've been put in this place, because there are a lot of artists and musicians out there that are far more talented, that have put in way more hours than me. Like, I don't deserve to sit in the top 5 places on the iTunes charts.
Debatable.
And the truth is, I really could give a shit less about the iTunes charts. What I care about is connecting with people. What I care about is I don't know what this country is going to look like in 10 or 20 years if things don't change. I don't know what this world's going to look like. And Like, something has to be done about it, you know? There's been too many people die. There's been too many people sacrifice everything they've had. People die before they're even 18, you know? Just for us to all sit here and just do the stupid shit it is that we do every day that keeps us all beat down and divided. Like, that's what I want to see stop. And I'm going to do everything I can to influence that at all costs, even if it does throw my world upside down. It's well worth it. But for now, I'm hanging in there, and I'm doing what I can, and I really appreciate everybody who's along for the ride. So there's a lot more to come, and I'm excited for it. And I'll see you on the next one.
And if you look at the comments on this video, I've yet to find a negative comment. Pretty much everyone is cheering him on. So one of my favorites actually from Hickok45, one of the best gun reviewers on YouTube. And his response got 3.5 thousand likes. Now he says, quote, "Try to ignore the negative stuff and just do what feels right to you. There will always be a very loud, small percentage of troublemakers looking for attention. Don't ever let the tag whale the dog. Congrats on your success at being yourself. Stay the way." Let's see. Another one says, "Thank you from a 60-year-old American Christian mama grandma. Your music touches my heart and soul. As one Virginia to another, don't change. Keep being yourself. Keep singing. Love your brother." Yeah, and again, we're not going to scroll through all of them. There's 25,000 comments. But they're just overwhelmingly saying, do not stop, hang in there, great message. Now, it is interesting to note that some of the messages that he was portraying would be traditionally more conservative, but I agree there is a lot of things in the middle. And in terms of his career and, attracting the greatest number of audience members, I think the track he's going, and again, he might be completely authentic. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying with the current message that he has, I think that's the best route to go in terms of mass market. It'll be interesting to see how his career progresses as his songs just resonate with more and more people and flies off the charts. Let me know in the comments. Are you a fan of the song Richmond North of Richmond? It's so popular, someone actually already put a 1-hour loop on the YouTube that's got like 100,000 hits. I actually listened to that when I was editing a couple days ago. It was pretty addictingly good. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the end of August. Greatly appreciate your assistance. Also, your comments help the channel grow and develop, as well as it helps me slow down my speech and make the show better and better, as that was a previous critique, which I've taken to heart and something I've worked on more and more. Also, don't forget to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.